I want to give you an idea of the line that is formed here as people are trying to get in and see Donald Trump. It circles all the way down to the end of Clendenin Street, then it loops back around and comes all the way down to the intersection of Coyer and Clendenin Street. People were lined up here as early as 7 o'clock this morning trying to get in. The line is moving really quickly now, but they didn't start letting people in. This crime scene tape is all that's left after a very violent morning here across the city of Charleston. But what we can tell you right now, take a look right over here. This is also what they're dealing with. Trees completely uprooted. How much different was it seeing it firsthand than what you've seen on the news and pictures?
You can't capture the smell.
I want to walk you through what happened here this morning because it does get kind of confusing. I want to start with this ATV that you see behind me. That Honda ATV was reported stolen. Why are you always running every time the police try to come get you? Why not?
Because I end up in the hospital every single time.
So you've been stealing lawnmowers and stuff from people's yards, is that true? You had been caught with meth and cocaine before?
No meth and cocaine. No, never have been caught with meth and cocaine before.
Never?
Never. Never have.
Breaking news coming in out of Jackson County right now. I just got off the phone with Jackson County Sheriff Tony Boggs, and this is what he tells me right now. Right now they are dealing with a major storm that is coming through the area that has suspended their search for that 4-year-old boy that has been swept away by high water. They are dealing with a very unique situation. Much of the small town was completely underwater, but now the issue that they are facing is that so much of that water has no place to go. Jim Justice is prepared for victory. They have balloons set up right above us. I'd say thousands of balloons that are ready to fall if he does win this race. Deputies think someone knows something and they may not even realize it. They want anyone who is at this cemetery Sunday afternoon. Whitney Chad Wolf died unexpectedly in his sleep while on a trip to Atlanta to visit friends. That was last Wednesday. Delta Airlines was set to return his body here to Charleston on Saturday night, a day before friends and family were set to come together to celebrate his life. His body never made it to that wake, and now his family wants to know why. Judy Wolf never thought she would have to bury her son, let alone say goodbye to an empty casket.
He was my baby. At 40, he was still my baby.
Chad Wolf, a University of Charleston graduate and U.S. Air Force veteran, passed away unexpectedly in his sleep while visiting friends. He had a Delta round-trip ticket for his week-long vacation in Atlanta. A day after his death, Delta confirmed they would transport his body as cargo back to Charleston and arrive on Saturday night, a day before his wake Sunday evening.
The flight came as it was supposed to. He did not.
We had to make the decision of what to do and how to do, and like it was very hard.
We wanted to postpone it just because we wanted him there, but we had so many families that could not be there for Monday.
Hundreds of family and friends gathered to say goodbye to Chad at his visitation. His mother, recalling the heartbreaking moment a Vietnam veteran wanted to pay his respects.
And he whispered in my ear, he said, I would like to salute the veteran. Was that a problem? I said, no, Danny, that's not a problem. And I didn't have the heart to tell him that Chad wasn't there. It was just the casket with the flag draped.
The family says Delta charged them more than $600 for the cargo transport and initially refused to reimburse Chad's unused ticket home.
I've been told that they're looking into it. Things will have to change, an action plan will be developed, is what I've been told. However, we haven't personally been told why it happened.
They say they're not upset about the money. They just wanted him home.
We don't want anybody else to go through what we've been through.
Chad's body did arrive in time for his funeral on Monday. He was buried at the Veterans Cemetery and Institute. Now, we did talk to Delta Airlines representatives today who said, first and foremost, we are deeply saddened by the passing of this veteran, and we have shared our condolences with the family. We take this situation very seriously, and Delta leaders at the highest levels are engaged. Delta has a long history of supporting the U.S. Armed Forces community, and we are proud to work alongside more than 10,000 colleagues who are veterans or are actively serving. For now, reporting live at Yeager Airport in Charleston, Leslie Rubin, Eyewitness News.
Tonight, Jimmy Gardner
is sitting down one-on-one with Eyewitness News reporter Leslie Rubin to reflect on the remarkable chain of events that led to his conviction being overturned and what he plans to do next as a free man.
When you know that you didn't do something and you're fighting for your life, there is no turning back. There is no giving in or quitting.
Jimmy Gardner says it was faith that carried him through 27 years in prison.
You know, I had a focus, and my focus was to get back to my family.
But the road home proved to be windy, long, and filled with countless obstacles. To understand Gardner's story, you have to go back to the 80s when he was a pitcher for the Charleston Wheelers. On the morning of May 16, 1987, a mother and daughter were getting ready to have coffee on their patio when someone brutally attacked the mother and raped the daughter. Cash and a cassette player were taken. 2 months later, another woman was sexually assaulted in her Canal City home. Both women said their attacker was black, and police started zeroing in on Wheelers players who played at nearby Wapow Park. Years went by with no arrests until a bloody fingerprint left at the first scene came back as a match on Gardner. After he was arrested for a crime in Florida, he was found not guilty of the second sexual assault, but he was convicted for the rape and robbery of the mother and daughter. He remembers the words from Judge Paul Zacabe in 1990 before he was sentenced to up to 110 years in prison.
He said, "You are a menace to society, and it gives me the pleasure to give you the maximum on every charge." And I said, "I'll be back."
Now disgraced serologist Fred Zane was a critical expert witness for the state during Gardner's trial. In 1993, the state Supreme Court ruled that all prisoners whose cases Zane testified in during his 12 years could ask for new trials if they first submitted new DNA tests. Gardner was one of those cases.
I personally thought that I was about to get my relief and go home.
Former Charleston Wheeler Jimmy Gardner struck out in his bid to get a new rape trial in a case where Zane testified against him. Judge Paul Zacabe ruled Zane's testimony was not a major factor in Gardner's conviction. He dismissed a motion for a new trial.
The Supreme Court ordered 3 times that Gardner be given a full evidentiary hearing in front of Zacabe, but that never happened.
Well, in order for me to have gotten any relief at any level, I would have had to have a ruling, and I just never got a ruling.
Until a federal judge stepped in this year and threw out his conviction, ordering that Gardner either be released or retried, citing tainted testimony from Fred Zane. Judge Joseph Goodwin calling it a complete miscarriage of justice.
But you can't fake it for long. If an individual's faking, it can be told. You can see who he is in a matter of time. You can't fake it for 30 years.
Kanawha prosecutors opted to retry Gardner, saying that DNA evidence found inside the victim did, in fact, match Gardner, and so did the fingerprint. But just days before the trial was set to start, prosecutors dropped the charges, saying that the officers who worked the case nearly 30 years ago, their memories were so faded and unreliable, they could not proceed.
Everything happens for a reason and in the time it's going to happen. And I might have wanted things to happen in my time, but if you have faith, you believe in God, a higher power, which I do, it's going to happen in God's time, not our time, not my time. And 27 years later, I'm thankful. I'm humble, I'm healthy, and I'm 50 years old and healthy and at home with my family, my sister and loved ones, and there's no complaints here.
Today, Gardner is hoping to get a job with the mayor's office on returning citizens affairs in Washington, D.C.
I want to be able to try to go back and just be of some assistance or some help to the guys. Let guys know you got help, man. You got hope over here.
He says with certainty there are more Jimmy Gardners.
It's so many cases that are still out there, and they need to have reviews. And people need to be aware that it wasn't a single incident. It was widespread.
He says that every day of every year he was in prison, he knew he was getting ready to go home. Now that he is, he wants you to know this.
I tell people, it's not how you start, it's how you finish.
In Woodbridge, Virginia, Leslie Rubin, Eyewitness News.